very interesting decks. Like, obviously, this is not a Delver mirror.
Definitely not.
So we're quite excited to see how this is going to turn out. This is we got some cards we haven't seen.
Pretty interesting deck from Lukas. So, I mean, all right, things are getting underway.
Joey apparently won the die roll, and he's going to be starting out with a Grave Crawler. Lukas has a Bird of Paradise.
Let's see, does Joey have the turn 2 Blood Artist? If so, it puts Lukas in a pretty weird spot. I mean, the Blood Artist is so good against other creature decks. And that's exactly what he has.
So turn 2, we have the Blood Artist from Joey. What is... That is a Combust, I suppose. Oh, he mis-sideboarded. Oh, no. Lukas didn't de-sideboard. He still has Combust, so... I guess this is a game loss for Lukas.
This is a game loss.
That is unfortunate. I'm sorry, we misspoke. Joey is not playing Scum Pod. He does not have Birthing Pods in his deck. We saw Mortar Pod and thought that it was Birthing Pod. He is a red-black zombies.
Yeah.
Red-black aggro.
You see the Blood Artist, the Falcon Wrath Aristocrat,
sure.
The Messengers.
Yeah. He does, however, have Bonfire of the Damned. He has Brimstone Volley, Falcon Wrath Aristocrat as his red.
This is kind of cool. Falcon Wrath Aristocrat is a good card.
It is, sure. I mean,
it's just
I remember
Delver. That's what's up.
Well, you know, you can't be good against everything. And if Delver's only 30% of the metagame, then you can sure be good against everything else.
Falcon Wrath Aristocrat is really good against the red-green deck.
Yeah. I mean, that guy is. I remember playing with Giant Solifuge, and that thing was nigh impossible to kill without at least getting a little bit of damage through or blowing up your board. And this guy is he's a 4 power, 4 mana, multicolored haster. Very scary guy. So he's running 3 of them.
Becomes indestructible.
Sure does. Becomes indestructible when you sack a creature to him. The only human he has to give him +1/+1 counter is he doesn't have any, actually. He's got Manic Vandals in the sideboard, and that's about it.
A human.
I suppose Phyrexian Metamorph can be a human.
Human after all.
Yeah, well, there you go. His elimination suite, for those of you who are interested, he has 2 Fume Spitters, 4 Brimstone Volley, 2 Bonfire of the Damned, 4 Tragic Slip, and 3 Mortar Pod.
That's a lot of removal.
Yeah, that's a lot. For an aggro deck?
It's 22 lands. He's got
3 Cavern of Souls among those lands, by the way.
And I mean, something about these black decks that's just so incredible is the power level of Geralf's Messenger.
Yes.
That's something that I think is going to become more apparent as time goes on. Geralf's Messenger is a card that's going to see play in a lot of formats, especially, as time goes on, mana is just going to keep getting better and better in the game.
Agreed.
Because they're going to have to print more lands.
Yep.
And it's going to get to the point where casting a black spell in a multicolored deck is not that unreasonable. And once that happens, then Geralf's Messenger suddenly just gets to leak into all these other decks.
Now, Lukas does not have Pillar of Flame, which red-green aggro had for a little while to be able to take care of things like Geralf's Messenger and Gravecrawler. All he has is 4 Bonfire of the Damned. And I say, that's all. But that's quite a bit.
Bonfire of the Damned is pretty good.
Sure is.
I mean, for 5 mana, it can just be a Plague Wind against Delver.
Yes, absolutely.
Please come to the
so how do you think... so they don't get to sideboard. This is just a...
This will be like a game 1, only Lukas gets to choose to play or draw.
Right.
It's his choice.
And he will be down a game to Joey. For those of you just joining us, we are. I'm Ruben Bressler. This is Jacob Van Lunen, and we are broadcasting live from Indianapolis, Indiana. We are broadcasting the Open Series featuring the Invitational. This is round 2 of the Invitational. We are still in Standard. We'll have 4 rounds of Standard and 4 rounds of Legacy today, and 4 rounds of Standard, 4 rounds of Legacy tomorrow, followed by the top 8 coverage on Sunday. We'll also have coverage of the Standard and Legacy Opens on Saturday and Sunday, respectively. And right now, we are in between games after Lukas Parsons had a sideboarding error to not be able to have a legal deck in game 1.
Lucas's deck is pretty interesting.
Tell me a little bit about Lucas's deck.
I don't know. I'm a little bit stumped by it. I mean, it's just a red-green aggro deck, and it's almost all 4-ofs. And the sideboard is all 2-ofs except 1 naturalize.
Okay.
It's just really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
So it looks like he's got 4 Land Royals, 4 Birds of Paradise, 4 Strangleroot Geist, and those are his 1 and 2 drops. I guess he could Green Sun Zenith for a 1-drop on turn 2 also. Mm-hmm. It looks like his plan is to get to turn 4. His plan is Huntmaster of the Fells and Wolfer of Silverheart and Bonfire of the Damned and Sword of War and Peace.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised that he doesn't have more 1-mana guys.
I agree.
And maybe 6 swords. Because I think one of the real reasons you want to be playing a deck like this is because of your turn 2 sword potential.
Now we've got turn 1 Bird of Paradise from Lucas into turn 1 Gravecrawler from Joey. Lucas is going to pass the turn with 3 mana up after he played Forest. I see another Forest in his hand. Joey will take Lucas down to 18.
Yeah, now Lucas definitely with a 4-drop in his hand. There's no way he doesn't have one of those.
Joey does not have a 2-drop either. This appears to be a Huntmaster of the Fells, or the Jägermeister in German, actually. Huntmaster of the Fells is called, it's printed Jägermeister von something in German. So German copies of that guy are not particularly easy to find. Looks like he has a Japanese one, possibly Chinese.
Well, Jägermeister is a Huntmaster.
Yes.
Right?
That's why there's a deer on the label.
You got a Playmaster or whatever.
So Joey's going to play a Swamp, possibly a 3-drop here. I'm going to guess... he's going to Brimstone Volley the Huntmaster before it gets out of hand. Lucas looks like he has a Bonfire. Didn't really see what else was in his hand. There's a Kessig Wolf Run and another Huntmaster. So Lucas is going to gain 2 more life, going to 22, or to go into 20.
I think
Lucas
22.
will go to. Right? Lucas will gain 2 life.
Yeah.
We'll get correspondence from our judge staff pretty soon.
And now, at
so
this
4
point, Joey
lands
just
from
falling
Joey.
so far behind.
Yeah, he's got a creature that can't really block. And by can't really block, I mean it can't block. We have
That changes everything.
Phyrexian Obliterator. Changes everything. Well, so
How do you beat
Phyrexian
red-green
Obliterator.
aggro decks?
Yeah, there you go. So Phyrexian Obliterator, for those of you that don't know, we'll try and get that one up on the screen for you, is a 5/5 Trampler for black from Mirrodin Besieged. And when it's dealt damage, the source of that damage has to sacrifice that many permanents. So this is going to be rough for Lucas. The only out that I see for Lucas is possibly playing one of his Wolfer Silverhearts on his Bird of Paradise and attacking several times.
That's not unreasonable.
That's not unreasonable. He's also got these Kessig Wolf Runs to be able to deal some damage. I don't see... The only out that Lucas could have to a Phyrexian Obliterator is Zealous Conscripts or Sword
That's a
Feast
pretty
and
good
Famine. Are both outs to this. What's
All right. So
I don't
Lucas
know.
is
He's
dumping
swinging
into a
in
wolf
with
run.
the Wolf Run. I see. So he's going to flip into Ravager, killing the Gravecrawler and dealing Joey 2 damage.
Seems like a reasonable plan.
Now Joey does only have the Obliterator, however, it's just clogging up everything. So
Yeah, I mean that is
there's
a
very little.
a very mad bug. Oh, the horror. Phyrexian Obliterator, black. 5/5, trample. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. And
Behold blessed perfection.
Yep.
Nice, I like that one. That's the kind of flavor text that when you play the card, you say it. I love those. You behold blessed perfection. And then you just can't beat it because it's perfect. Metamorph, probably copying that Obliterator. And
I would guess
that's going to be
gonna
rough
the
to deal with.
Obliterator.
Although he's got more outs to artifacts if he brought in any artifact 8, which I would doubt. Lukas not in a great spot here. He's got Bonfire in hand, which doesn't really do anything. He's got some lands in hand, which I suppose will pump up his Wolf Run.
And now, I mean, he can Wolf Run for 3, but that's about it.
Yeah.
He can only attack with the bird if he's going to attack.
Yeah. This is a rough spot for Lukas.
Yeah, I don't really see a way that Lukas is going to come back from a double Obliterator.
Yeah, quite unfortunate that he would get the game loss in game 1. I believe he's much better suited in game 2 to bring in. Once he's seen Phyrexian Obliterator, he can bring in the Conscripts. Once he's seen the Metamorphs, he can bring in Ancient Grudge, maybe. He would certainly bring in Sword of Feast and Famines. There's many things he would bring. He'd like to change about his deck. Sword of War and Peace, not very good against zombies.
No.
There are many things that he would sideboard, change about his deck. This is not a deck set up to deal with Black-Red Zombies game 1, which is essentially what he has here. He had a really good start. He just didn't have an answer to Phyrexian Obliterators. What are you going to do? Sometimes your
opponent casts Phyrexian Obliterator when you're playing a red-green deck.
That's correct. It's debatable what's worse for a red-green deck to see. Either a Phyrexian Obliterator being copied by a Phyrexian Metamorph or a Wormcoil Engine being copied by a Phyrexian Metamorph. At least you can attack into a Wormcoil Engine. So we're going to Green Sun Zenith for 5, I believe.
That's Wolfir Silverheart.
This is going to be a Wolfir Silverheart, I imagine, pairing up with this Bird of Paradise.
Yeah, I mean, suddenly Lukas might just be able to race.
Checking.
I mean, finding that Green Sun Zenith is
If
huge,
Joey cannot attack with both creatures next turn.
I don't know if he can attack with 1.
I agree.
So 8 plus 4 is 12. Yeah, no, he can attack with 1.
He cannot?
He cannot attack with 1 next turn. He would die.
He would die. So we're going to pair with the Bird of Paradise. Those are on opposite sides of the board, but everyone knows who they're paired with. Joey's going to take 4 here.
Yeah. Joey, going to drop 10 from that attack. Very nice from Lukas.
Yeah. Somehow staying in the game.
Now, we know that Joey has a ton of removal. Just a ton.
Absolutely.
So, would not be surprised to see Lukas lose that Wolfir Silverheart or that bird. Yeah, Joey's got a bit of a weird situation here, because he might need to get certain cards in certain places. Like, he might need to have a creature die so that his Tragic Slip is live. And it's going to be really difficult for him to do that.
Yeah.
But if he attacks and Lukas doesn't block at all, and he attacks both guys, or even if he attacks one guy and then he dies, so he needs to be really careful here. Looks like he may be a bit flooded.
This is the other thing about Lukas's take on red-green, is that it's just got a lot of guys. It doesn't have as much elimination, but it just floods the board. And so you just throw animals at the problem and hope it works.
And a lot of the time it works. It's weird. I know. Throwing animals at Phyrexian Obliterator is not necessarily the best plan, but
I mean,
one flying bird, and
so I see 2 lands in Joey's hand, so he's got at least 7 total. We have a Geralf's Messenger and a Gravecrawler, maybe, possibly. Lukas bouncing his legs up and down, waiting patiently for Joey. Joey plays a Geralf's Messenger, taking Lukas to 8. And a Gravecrawler. And something else. Oh, and a Gravecrawler. I see. Playing another land and passing the turn. Now, this sort of appears to be the turn that's going to decide what's going to happen here. Ah, 2 spells, reflip. So Lukas is going to gain 2 life and get another wolf. Interesting. Now this is more things that Lukas can sacrifice to chump blocking a Geralf's Messenger if he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't Lukas just attack with his team and win?
I believe he just attacks with... Oh, that's another Silver Heart in his hand. So absolutely, we play... Oh, so there's not another flyer. Yeah, he just attacks with the team and wins.
Yep.
Huh. Interesting. So he threw dudes at the problem, and it turns out that it worked. So now we can go to the sideboarding with Joey on the play.
Yeah, pretty impressive that
was
Lukas was able to
pretty
win a
good
match
comeback.
through double Phyrexian Obliterator.
That's right.
And, you know, that's Wolfir Silverheart giving that flying creature +4/+4. Just so strong. And there, I mean, we see the power of 4-power flyer.
That's
in
right.
this format. And that's one of the reasons why Falcon Wrath Aristocrat is in Joey's deck, actually.
That's right. 4/5 Bird of Paradise coming in. For those of you unfamiliar with Wolfir Silverheart, although I can't imagine you wouldn't be, considering the Pro Tour put it on a pedestal. 3 colorless green rare from Avacyn Restored with Soul Bond. Soul Bond, an ability that makes a relationship between 2 creatures. The ability on Wolfir Silverheart reads that if, as long as it's paired, each of those creatures gets +4/+4. There you have it on your screen. It's a Wolf Warrior, so if you name Warrior with your Cavern of Souls, there you go. So quite an impressive display there. That card is 12 power for 5 mana.
Yes.
So
and 4 of it is hasty.
And 4 of it's hasty, and sometimes flying, and sometimes other abilities.
Sometimes it's unblockable and hexproof.
That's true.
Pretty sweet card. Definitely a fan of the Wolfir Silverheart. The moment I saw that card, I knew I would want to be playing with it.
That's a big fatty boom boom. That's what that is. That's a lot of power. I mean, 12 of it.
For 5 mana?
That's right, and it's even a 4/4. So the Zombies deck doesn't really have a great answer to it, because he's got Fume Spitters, Brimstone Volleys, which I guess if they go Morbid can deal with it. Bonfire's Sorcery Speed, that's not going to deal with it. Tragic Slip, if it's Morbid, can deal with it. And Mortar Pod. And
Obliterator.
Well, for sure. Phyrexian Obliterator is not terrible.
And Joey took a couple points there that he could have done something about, maybe? I don't know. So that second game, they weren't supposed to sideboard, right?
I don't believe that second game they were supposed to sideboard, correct?
What do you mean? Could you kind of judge? Because the game 1 was just a game loss.
Did game 1 start?
Yes.
Then they are allowed to start.
Ah, okay. We have clarification. So, game 1 started. Joey played a land, then Lukas played a land and realized he had Combust in his deck. So that game had started, so they are allowed to sideboard. We were confused because we noticed Phyrexian Obliterators in Joey's sideboard, not in his main deck.
Yeah,
so we were real worried for a second there. Everything's cool.
The match
we're good.
turns into Game Lost City.
Yep. The game did
Crown
start.
Town.
Yeah. This would have been quite the interesting feature match. Just 2 game losses.
It just goes back and forth from both of them. They did begin playing that.
Yes, they did.
So,
How would you sideboard
if I was Joey,
if you were Joey?
I would take out my Grave Crawlers. I was very surprised that was still in his deck. Card is pretty terrible here.
Yeah, against a deck full of guys, not great.
I feel like Mortar Pot is just horrible.
Yeah,
as
I
a
feel
card
like
right now.
Mortar Pod's pretty bad here. It takes down his 1-drops, I guess.
Yeah, it's just bad in the format right now.
I agree.
Because like even the decks that you would want it against, it's bad against. And I can understand why you might. Like, obviously it's better in this deck than in other decks, since it has a lot of synergy with Blood Artist, but...
Yeah. So he's bringing in Obliterators, obviously. I would probably bring in the Active Aggressions, just to try and punch it through. Although if you're taking out the Grave Crawlers, maybe you're not as trying to be as an aggressive of a deck.
Yeah, I think you just bring in Manic Vandals and Obliterators.
I agree.
And one extra swamp, and
Could because you're bringing in obliterators. Sure.
yeah, and maybe one bonfire.
Bring in the bonfire to try and wipe the board. Sure.
Yeah, I mean
So
it's
you're
really
taking
against
out-
the Masters.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah. So
and the
what's
other thing is that
interesting
Lucas's
about
deck is just all about critical mass, so obviously bonfire.
I would say I'm very confused. Oh, there they are. There's Diagraph Ghouls. I thought he didn't have Diagraph Ghouls in his list.
That would have been a bit odd.
So, what do you think Lucas is sideboarding here? His two ofs. He's got a lot of two ofs in his sideboard. He's got
Sort
access.
of Feast and Famine.
Yep, he would definitely bring in Sword of Feast and Famine. Probably
And-
taking out the Sword of Fire, or not Fire and Ice, Sword of War and Peace. I would probably bring in Thrun.
Yeah, Throne is a very reasonable card to bring in. I think he has to bring in Zealous Conscripts because
He does have to bring in Zealous
he's
Conscript.
seen the Obliterators.
He has. How do you feel about Batterskull
Sweet card.
in this matchup?
This matchup, I don't know. It's close.
So we kept in our Gravecrawlers again. We're starting with one in play. Lucas has a nice, looks like possibly
Gravecrawler doesn't
unlimited,
look much in this matchup.
unlimited Llanowar Elf. Yeah, Gravecrawler really doesn't do much. I'm very surprised it's still in. Although it's his game plan, he's on the play. He wants to be aggressive. Yeah, but that game plan is not going to work very well if Lucas happens to have a Strangleroot Geist
That's
and
true.
a Mortar Pod. We're going to kill the Llanowar Elf.
Llanowar Elf. So Joey sideboarded completely differently.
Completely differently than we thought. If this is a Strangleroot Geist, then Joey's in trouble because he spent a lot of energy dealing with trying to not get to 3 mana. Although Lucas does not look... Oh, there he is. Green Sun for 1.
Alright, so a Green Sun Zenith going to go ahead and grab a Llanowar Elf. Lucas shuffles that Green Sun Zenith back into his deck. And then Joey's going to get the turn back. No Strangleroot Geist. Pretty good news for Joey. This gives him a few different options here. He can equip the Gravecrawler with the Mortar Pod, kill this Llanowar Elf, and that'll give him an opportunity to cast an Obliterator on turn 4
Onto basically an empty board.
Yeah. His opponent will have had an opportunity to have played one spell in between. Ooh, but it also looks like Joey has a Dross Messenger in his hand, so
Ah,
he's at least got a decision to make.
so he's got a land. He's got the option here. I think, yeah, he's playing Blood Artist. Interesting.
Oh, this is not a Dross Messenger, it's a Blood Artist. Okay.
So he's
Choose
going
to
to
go
let
with the
Lucas
Blood
play a 4-mana spell this turn. Man, I don't know if I would have done that. But
Yeah, I don't know if I would have
Thrun,
done that
the
either.
last troll for Lucas Parsons. Not a lot of ways
Phyrexian Obliterator
for
or
Joey
no land?
to interact with Thrun. He is the last troll. Up, he's making space for it. Doesn't look like he has land though.
Huh.
Mortar Pod is currently unequipped in spite of its current placement. Joey's going to pay 2 life to copy Thrun the Last Troll. So there's his interaction. He's going to take 2 life there from the Phyrexian mana.
Yeah, but then he's
And then
going
he's
to
going to
go
attack.
ahead and gain both of those life right back and
As a
drain
result-
Lucas for 2.
As a result of the Blood Artist. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting game plan. Lucas appears to have a lot of lands in his hand. And 1 spell. From what I can tell.
Yeah, now
And I can't tell what the
it
spell
looks like Lucas
is.
has a lot of lands.
Lucas's
Not
card
many
may
odds
be
this time.
Phyrexian Metamorph. I am unsure. It's going to copy Mortar Pod. Interesting. So we're going to take care of this Blood Artist, most likely. A Sheep Token. Oh, we're going to pass so we can block. Maybe.
That's a bit interesting.
That is interesting. Lucas is very limited on options. I believe his entire hand is lands. Joey also limited on options. He has a Phyrexian Obliterator and I think an Aristocrat that he can't cast because he only has 3 lands. So we're watching a fight among people who can't really do anything. So we're going to declare blocks, sack to destroy the Blood Artist, draining Lucas of 2 more. Joey taking his time, and this is probably going to be an Obliterator. Yes.
Yeah. Coming
Phyrexian
down.
Obliterator down for Joey. Lucas's hand, reminder, is all lands. So let's see if he has... Bonfire off the top is not particularly good. It's a Bird of Paradise. This game is all but over.
I don't
Unfortunately.
really.
for
I mean, I
Lucas.
know last game we'd said the same thing,
But Lucas had a handful of creatures last game. Now he's got a handful of lands. He has literally no cards. Making an 0-2 flyer. Ornithopter for Lucas Parsons. Changing his mind, putting it on the Llanowar Elf, making it a Squire instead.
an interesting choice.
Not exactly sure why he did it that way.
Yeah, there's not
Mortar pod
much
on
you can
the
do
Grave
right
Crawler now.
especially because of
We have
how
a
far
mortar
behind he
fight.
is.
If Joey has a Brimstone Volley, this game is pretty much over.
I think he does.
Lucas can block the Phyrexian Obliterator with the Bird of Paradise and not have to sacrifice, or he can block with either creature, actually.
However, then he turns on the Morbid of the Brimstone Volley,
Yes.
if that's what Joey has.
But if he doesn't block the Obliterator, it still takes Lucas to 3, which will still kill him.
And that's exactly what happens. The Gravecrawler gets blocked, and Lucas is going to take 5 and go to 3. And Brimstone
Yep,
Volley is going
there's
to
the
put him
game.
at -2. Joey Mispagel, able to take
Winner
down that
against
match.
Lucas Parsons with black-red zombies.
Yeah, pretty cool.